Hi, I thought I'd pop in front of the camera today to share with you a card I made using the new paper pumpkin kit, A Box of Sunshine. So let's get started. So today, the paper pumpkin alternative card that I'm showing you is one that I used the pineapple, and I thought it was just beautiful, the coloration on the pineapple and everything. And with it, I made a simple pop-up card. So let me tell you how I did that. First, you're going to need a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and we're going to score it at, the Whisper White cardstock is 8.5 by 5.5. And we're going to score it at 4 1/4. And I'm going to move my cutting blade out of the way. And then we're going to flip it around and we're going to score it at 2 1/8. Okay, let's set that aside for a moment. Looks like we got a little crooked here. It seems like I can't get through a video without dropping something in the background, so I apologize for that. Okay, let's get that out of the way so I don't trip. All right, so let's bring in the directions. These directions will be posted on my Facebook page as well as on my YouTube channel, down below, as they say, right? So anyway, then we're going to need a piece of Daffodil Delight, and that measures 4 1/4 by 5.5. We're going to need a piece of a scrap of Whisper White cardstock that measures 3 by 4 approximately, and we're going to need a piece of Magenta Madness that measures 3 by 4 as well. Okay, these have been pre-cut, so let me just show you. For the Daffodil Delight, we use the stitched layering dies, and I'm using the largest one. And this is what we get, right? And then for the other two, I'm using the largest of the scalloped in the scalloped layering dies. Okay, and then the die that measures, even I have to double check this, the die that measures 3 1/4 by 2 1/4. Okay, and this is what it's going to look like. All right, and then lastly, we're going to take a piece of Designer Series paper from the Flowers for Every Season. And if you haven't seen them, let me just flip through them really quickly. This is what we're going to be using. But, as always, it's two-sided. The only time we don't tend to have two-sided paper is when we have foiling or something special on the front. But for the most part, we have two-sided paper. And you'll see how lovely that paper is. And that there's both flowers and then there's a coordinating sort of background pieces on there. Okay. So this is what I started with, and this is what we end up with. We're going to cut these 2 1/8 by 5 1/4, and there's 2 of them. Okay. All right, so let's start to assemble the card. Oh, before we do that, let me just talk about what we're using from the paper pumpkin kit. So we're using the pineapple, and we're using 2 leaves. We're using 1 large and 2 small sequins. We're using these 2 sentiment strips. And then let's move those out of the way, from the stamps that came with it, we're using the Hello stamp and the You Are Loved stamp. And then, of course, the black ink spot that came with it. All right, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to fix the Daffodil Delight to the inside of the card. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm using the new Stampin' Seal today. It's wonderful, but I will admit there is a bit of a learning curve with it. We're used to doing this. Now we have to do this. But one of the things I like about it is it's very quiet. So when you're, up crafting at 3 o'clock in the morning because you can't sleep, but the rest of the family is snoring away, you won't even have to worry about the noise that your Stampin' Seal is making. So we're just going to center this, and I'm just making sure you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to center this on the inside of the card, And it will have a bit more of a margin on the top and the bottom than it does on the sides. And that's fine, as long as it's centered. Okay, I'm gonna, then we're gonna go to the front of the card. I was gonna say we're gonna set it aside, but we're not. We're gonna go to the front of the card and we're going to affix these. And again, you just gotta be right on top of it. And you do have to do that little check marky thing. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but you kind of at the end make like you're making a check mark, right? And again, we're going to center these on the paper, on the two sections in the front of the card where we scored. So there's one. Now you'll see this is off a little bit. I don't think I'm going to be able to get this up. So when something like this happens, because we're, you know, this is live in real time here, or when something like that happens, I just then make sure that both of them, let me see, one more side. I just make sure that both of them are even. And it really doesn't matter how you do this, although I would say that it's, you know, if you want it to look like it's a continuation, it's fine. If you want it to be something different, then that's fine too, do it that way. But you'll see that even though I'm off a little bit over here, as long as you align them so that they are even and straight would be good. You see how good this sticks. Okay. The new tape is really strong. And then there's also a tape that's even stronger than that. Okay, so as long as it aligns, it looks fine. Okay, and the focus is going to be on the pineapple anyway. All right, so now we're going to set that aside. And we're going to get the pink, the Magenta Madness. We're going to put these together. Now this, because it is critical, not kind of, it kind of is critical, that we get this right. I chose to use liquid glue here so that I have a moment to get this and kind of scooch it around so that it's even. And you see that it doesn't give me a lot of time, but it gives me a moment or two to be able to move that around a little bit. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to affix the pineapple. Now here's the deal with the pineapple. On my card, let me bring it back in. On my card, you can see that I've left a white space here. And I think that looks fine. But if you are trying to get it into a regular standard envelope for this size card, then you might want to bring it down. I think it still looks fine that way. So let's go ahead and do this card with it all the way down at the bottom. And that will help a little bit. That will help a little bit in getting it into the envelope. Now remember, you just want to put adhesive down at the bottom here so that the top part's not going to stick to your card. So we're going to, let me keep it in the center here. Bring this down. This still will be a little tiny bit of white. And there you go. Okay. And now we're going to fix this to the front of the card. Now before you do that, let's go back to the inside of the card. And let's decide where we want to put these sentiment strips. And even before the sentiment strip. And even before we do that, let's go ahead and stamp this with the You Are Loved. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. I'm thinking of the wrong card now that I think about it. Hold on one second. Let me switch this out. We really want to do the other one that says, let's see, what does it say? A little something to brighten your day. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. I'll clean this off. Just off, okay. And let me just go over here and clean the stamp off. I have my Stampin' Chamois off camera here. It's wonderful, really cleans them quickly And it's something you always want to do. You want to clean your stamps really quickly so that, all right, I'm going to have to put this on crooked. I don't want to stop to go get the other block. So not crooked, but diagonally. I don't want to stop to go get the other block. Okay, let me, off camera here, get some ink. Okay. Now you certainly could have used the You Are Loved as well on this, and it fits. So you saw that it fits. But anyway, we are going to use a little something to brighten your day on this one. Okay. And again, I'm going to clean my stamp off right away. You want to just, you know, kind of stamp it off a little bit. That way your chamois doesn't get quite so dirty. And you can keep crafting. Okay, so we've got that done. And while we're at it, why don't we go ahead and stamp the hello? So we're using this sentiment strip. Now let me bring the card back in so that you can see that only part of the strip is showing, right? So we're going to stamp the hello a little more towards the right of the sentiment strip. I'm also using my Stampin' Pierce mat. It's wonderful to use when you are using the clear stamps. You may feel like your stamping isn't as crisp as you'd like it and everything. And this just gives you a bit of a cushion so that you can then go ahead and stamp much more cleanly. I have to say that my stamping improved greatly once I started using the Stampin' Pierce mat. And I've been stamping for a while. Now, you can see that my H is I pressed a little bit too hard, but we're just going to keep going on the card. It'll be fine. Again, these are handcrafted cards, right? So, okay, so now the next thing we're going to do, let me get the mat out of the way, is we're going to decide where we want this to be. Okay. And I'm thinking right about there looks good. Now you want to use dimensionals to go ahead and affix this. So let me grab my dimensionals. And I like to be rather generous with them. I just don't want to ever think that it's not going to go through the mail well, you know, get crushed or whatever. So I do tend to use a fair amount of dimensionals on my cards. Okay. And I'm going to see if I can do what the real veterans can do here. And that's take your pick tool and you just kind of use that to pull them off. But it keeps them all on. There, I did 4 out of 5. Not bad. But then it makes it easy to just dispose of them. Okay, let's go ahead and put this on. And again, we're going to center it. And you don't want to press until you're sure of where you want this. Okay, that looks good. All right, now you're saying, but what about the leaves? Well, because we're going to, you know, stick them underneath like this, there's plenty of room to do that. So let's go ahead. Again, I'm going to use some liquid glue on this so that I can move them around a little bit. Don't need a lot. Okay. And I kind of put these in on an angle. You can choose to do it whichever way you'd like. And the second one. Having trouble picking it up. Okay, and the second one I kind of went up like that. Okay, and now you can see that you have a stopper for your card. All right, now let's get back to the pineapple. Now we're going to put this on here. Now again, I did leave a little space here. You'll notice on this card, it's not much, 1/16 of an inch maybe. But if you wanted to bring it right down to the bottom, it will look fine. And again, you'll pick up a little bit of extra space so that maybe it will fit into the card, into the envelope. Let's see. Let's measure. I'm just curious how we're doing here. Let me bring in the envelope and see how we're doing. If we put that right on the bottom. It's going to be close, but I think it will make it. So it's up to you. I don't have any problem using a bigger envelope, so I'm going to go ahead and leave some space up here. Now we're going to, again, use liquid glue on this. Again, a reminder, you just want to put it on the bottom. But we're going to only lightly place this down. And you can place it approximately wherever you want. I've left about 3/4 of an inch to the left here. You want to make sure it's straight, but don't press it down. Now you want to measure this, and you want to figure out where you want this to be. And you want about 1/4 of an inch to tuck in. Now on my directions, I say to cut this, let's see, I think I give a measurement to cut it. I don't think I do, maybe. Okay, I thought I did. Anyway, you want to leave about 1/4 of an inch to go underneath the pineapple. So let me get a pair of scissors here and go ahead and cut that. Let me grab my snips. And, you know, if you want to leave a little bit extra, just so you have some wiggle room, that's fine too. And again, we're going to put a little liquid glue so we have some ability to move this around. And you're just going to scooch that underneath there like that. There we go. Okay. And so now we're almost done. We just have to affix our sequins. These are the sequins that came with the paper pumpkin kit. And they are very, I hate to use the word cool, but they're cool. They're just iridescent and they just pick up everything. Okay, I got to get rid of some of that putty there that stuck out. If you're not familiar with the take your pick tool, it has a little bit of putty on the end, which helps you to pick things up very easily. So we're going to put the larger one here. And I put the smaller ones over here to the side. I don't know what that is. Looks like the top of the sequin came off. Okay, so then just, you know, randomly here, and you can see the putty. Okay, and then over here. Okay, get rid of that putty. All right, and your card is done. Again, plenty of room under here to write your message. Looks much more finished using the stitch rectangle. Let me bring in my original card. And the original card is fine, but this looks so much more finished and so much more professional. So you got to remember to use those stitched rectangle dies. They really do make a difference when you're cutting things like this. Okay, well that's it for me today. Thank you for watching. Again, you're watching Crafting with Marilyn. I am on YouTube and on Facebook. Time for me to go do some laundry and get ready for the celebrations later in the week. Happy 4th of July, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.